Hey everybody, Curtis Bryan here from the Citrus Insider. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the corporate hangar that's going on at the Inverness Airport. So let's jump into it. So for those of you guys that don't know, Citrus County is building a corporate hangar in Inverness at the airport, and that is going to be given to Livewire Aviation and Alana McCarty. So where did she come from? How was she the one that was selected for this corporate hangar that's going to be at the Inverness Airport? So let's jump into it, take a look. So early 2020, we had Andy, who is Right Rudder Aviation. He's the current FBO operator at the airport in Inverness. He's been trying for years to get an additional hangar at the airport. His services, he wants to expand his services, and he needs additional space for his services. So he's been trying for years. 2022, he's been going to try to get grants. Here's some emails that I'm going to show you guys that's going back and forth. So this is January 31st, 2022. This is Andy to the county saying that the hangar grant has started 2 times but never finished. We should combine them both to significantly improve the final version. So he's trying to get a 15,000 to 30,000 square foot hangar and get grant money to pay for that for Citrus County. Here is another email from Right Rudder Aviation. He's acknowledging that there's some special opportunity funds out there, some grant money that's available for the county. FAA has $1 billion to use for airports. 10% has to go to small airports such as Inverness Airports. So he has been active with trying to bring grants to Citrus County to help facilitate this hangar building since early 2022. So this is the February 22nd, 2022 BOCC meeting. This is a grant application that was filed for the county to seek money for a grant with the FBO. So new hangar will be occupied by the existing FBO to expand their services. An appropriate hangar rent will be developed. So the county will get this grant money. They'll build the hangar, give it to the FBO, which is Right Rudder Aviation, and then they will pay a hangar lease for that. New hangar will attract more airport operators, electric aircraft clients. Commissioner Schleybaugh discussed this grant with the DEO secretary during her visit to Tallahassee. WTC has plans to utilize a portion of the new hangar as a classroom and shop space to teach a Part 147 aircraft maintenance program. So with Cucci Technical College wants to join in with Andy and help bring a aircraft maintenance program to Citrus County for their students. So that's what this money would be used for the grant. So this is the grant application that was filed with the DEO. This is part of there's several different pages, but I wanted to point out here this particular sentence here. The new hangar will be occupied by the existing FBO to expand their services. Additionally, the new hangar will provide office space that can be occupied by other local businesses. The new hangar will attract more aircraft operators and electric aircraft. WTC has plans to utilize a portion of the new hangar as a classroom and shop space to teach FAA Part 147 aircraft maintenance program. The college is expected for 25 students per semester when the Part 147 begins. So part of this application for this money was they were telling the state, the DEO, that they were going to give this to Andy at Right Rudder as well as some users of other businesses. This is the money requested. It was $4.5 million. Total project cost was $5.2 million for that. This was a map that was provided. This is the current FBO apron, so this is where their offices are and all of that. They were going to put this new hangar space right next to that there. Signed 2/22/2022 by Ron Kitchen, who was the then chair of the board. This is email from Josh Wooten at the chamber talking about how they're in full support of this economic opportunity to go to Tallahassee for this. We agree Right Rudder Aviation is and has been a stellar fixed base operator. So the Chamber of Commerce in Citrus County is supporting this application to go forward so that Andy at Right Rudder can get an additional space and utilize it for WTC and some other things. This is a letter from the Citrus Economic Development Authority for Citrus County saying the same thing, that they support this DEO application to go in for the Inverness hangar and that it's a good opportunity for Citrus County. They're saying, talk about WTC and all of that. So March 8th, 2022 at the BOCC meeting, this is another grant opportunity that was brought forward. This is an FAA grants for the Inverness Airport. that was brought forward to the board. So during that meeting at the BOCC meeting, the BOCC decided that Andy could apply for grants on behalf of the county, and the county would sign them. So Andy had to do all of the groundwork for the grants. He had to do the applications. He had to put all the information in, all those things. But the county would go ahead and sign off on those grants because again, it's grant money for Citrus County, assuming there was no significant cost and all those things. And all those grants would come to the board for approval prior to authorization for signing. So this email here on March 28, 2022 is saying from Brandy Oliver, who was the then county administrator, saying that Right Rudder was successful in filling out this form. They completed the application and it's been submitted to the FAA form 5100. This is Ruthie coming back to them saying, I'm putting positive thoughts on this, hope they get it. So they're acknowledging there that Andy did submit the paperwork and that the county did submit it on behalf of the FBO. April 29th, 2022, Randy Oliver email. So this is going to Livewire Aviation at their 4/26/2022 meeting. Approve the motion for the FBO at each airport to develop a list of different grants. So these are things that the FBOs can submit to the county to ask for money for things that we've done, and then each FBO gets $13,000 in funding. This is also in this email. It's also saying there was a DEO grant submitted on February 28th for a 24,000 square foot hangar. Application under the bipartisan bill for the Inverness Airport facility. This is for solar projects. And a third grant was submitted on April 13th, 2022 for rebuilding American Infrastructure and Sustainability Equity, the RAISE program. This was asking for the Inverness Building Park and all of those things. So June 27, 2022, more grant opportunities. This is Andy sending an email to Commissioner Schleybaugh, some more grant opportunities that the county could pursue. This email is then forwarded to other staff in the county, saying, hey, check this out. There's this grant opportunity out there. Colleen Scott, who was the management budget director at the time, said that looked into it and said that this is unfortunately not able for Citrus County because we have a population of over 150,000 people. So January 17th, 2023, we have chairman priorities. So these are a list of priorities that the chairman puts forward under their chairmanship of things that they want to see accomplished during their time. On here is the Inverness Airport Industrial Park and additional hangar. So January 23, they're acknowledging that they need an additional hangar for the Inverness Airport. And again, everything that we've seen prior to that has been FBO is going to get that airport hangar and operate that hangar. So now we have January 18th, 2023. This is the first time that I've seen a formal introduction for Alonda to come into the county. This is an email that she sends to Ruthie. Good afternoon, Commissioner Schleybaugh. I would like to request a meeting with yourself and the County Administrator, Mr. Howard, to discuss the availability and securing a hangar at the Inverness Airports. As you know, after our meeting with the FBO and Inverness Airports a while back, we are actively seeking hangar space to headquarter our aviation business. I know this has been brought up in several commission meetings recently, and hopefully we're on the right track to seeing this space come to fruition at the airport. Please let me know your earliest availability. I'm available most days. So she is introducing herself to Mr. Howard. This was then forwarded to Mr. Howard to get his inputs on meeting times to come to Inverness Airport, acknowledging that she wants space. So we're a year into this process of Andy trying to get some hangar space, and then Alonda comes along saying that she would like some space as well. Here is the back and forth. Mr. Howard, can you schedule time for this meeting? They'll work to have it scheduled. Mr. Howard, I look forward to meeting you, learning about your interest in Citrus County. He's talking about his past experience on the board of directors for Commercial Spaceflight Federation. He's excited about the potential opportunity Citrus County has in expanding job growth within aerospace and defense industries. So they're getting ready to set up this meeting so that they can learn more about Alonda and her business. So May 2023, we have an email from Frank, and he is the former Economic Development Director for Citrus County. He sends an email out to other staff about right away, things like that, and letter of intent for Alonda. So between January, when she makes the introduction, in May 2023, she gets put onto a list for hangar space. In this email from Frank to staff, he's asking, has anyone reached out to Livewire to get a letter of intent for the commercial hangar? It would be good to get it on the upcoming agenda. If Alonda wants time to sign a lease, I would say 90 days max written into the letter agreement. So that way, if Alonda doesn't take it, we can go to the next in line, or Andy, I suppose, since he's been trying to get a grant for one. So he's acknowledging that Andy's been trying to get grants for this Inverness hangar, but they're like, hey, so have Alonda sign this, get it signed within 90 days, and if she doesn't sign it within 90 days, we go on to the next person on the list, presumably Andy or whoever else. So somewhere along the line, in the January to May timeframe, when Alonda comes into the picture and this email is sent out, Alonda gets put on the list ahead of Andy. So the question is why? Why does she get picked for that over Andy, the FBO operator at the time? So Aviation Workshop on June 6th. There's going to be a couple videos on here. This is going to show you guys the BOCC's movement to go all in on Alonda and Livewire Aviation. Particularly Commissioner Schleybaugh and Commissioner Bays. And then you'll see some different things back and forth with them. So at this meeting, this is the Aviation Workshop. They're talking about a lot of things regarding the Inverness Airport and other airports in Citrus County, Crystal River, and other airport issues. This is the master plan that was shown for Inverness Airport. If you notice here, the FBO operations are down here. So this is that zoomed out map. On this master plan, these are going to be T hangars that the county's going to own. These are some other hangar spaces and things like that. So the plan is to bring in Alonda's hangar and take one of these T hangar spots. Instead of building T hangars, they're going to put the money towards Alonda's lease. So we'll jump into some videos. But before that, this is the introduction to Alonda. This is the first county commission meeting that I've seen where her company was mentioned. They had provided a booklet to the county commissioners to present their business opportunity, and it's kind of like a sales pitch, so to speak, of what they bring to the county and what they plan to do for their business.
Working with Alonda at Livewire to, potentially move her helicopter business here, looking at the relocation of creating a heliplex so that we can move the emergency aircraft for the helicopter for the ambulance service down there, moving the sheriff's helicopter down there. So are we in a position then to, if we're going to create a heliplex, you can't put fixed wings near a heliplex. How do we make a decision that we are moving in the right direction if we move forward with this and keeping fixed wing and a heliplex separate of one another?
All right, so you have their Commissioner Bays talking about Livewire Aviation and what she's going to bring to the county, but they're also talking about this new heliplex. So if we go back to the master view, the master plan for airport, nowhere on here is there any talk about a heliplex. So this is the first time that the heliplex idea has come before the board in that June 2023 meeting. They've never talked about any heliplex or anything like that. So this is going to be the location of the heliplex that they had just started talking about at this meeting. So somewhere behind the scenes, there's been talk of a heliplex coming to Citrus County. If we listen to her talk about bringing that heliplex here, all of the helicopters she talked about, the sheriff's office, the medical flights, all those things are up at this northern end of the airport here. So they're going to talk about bringing all that stuff down over here. Now, important to notice this little fire symbol. This is the future plan for the new Inverness fire station. This was just recently approved in the legislature for $3.5 million, I believe, to help build this facility. So the question becomes, if they're going to put the helicopter here, and this was in the 2023 plans when they were talking about it, if they're going to put the fire station here, why would they put a heliplex down here and draw all of the medical heliflights and all those things down at this end of the airport if the fire services, which also provide EMS service here in Citrus County, if that's up here at this end? So wouldn't it make sense to have the med flights people operate at the northern end so that if an ambulance comes in, they just come to here and do that? Also a little bit closer to the CMH hospital, which is down kind of in this area over here. So again, first time they've talked about the heliplex, and they're now bringing, first time that I've noticed that they're bringing Londa's Livewire Aviation company to the public at a meeting.
Working with Londa at Livewire.
All right, so this is the next video.
This area. We recently had a company called Livewire approach us about wanting to move their operation here from Alabama, and so we started looking at the concept of developing a heliplex in this area. So so it happens that we have funding lined up for, should be this this fall from the state. Hangar money is now 50-50. It used to be 80% or 80-20%. We had funding lined up to do the second Hangar building, $3 million, but with the interest in moving their business here, we're looking at the option of using those funds to build. I believe our initial numbers looking at upwards of a 20,000 square foot hangar for something like that. I did reach out to DOT to see if we could change the title of that funding from T-hangars to box hangars, which I just got word from him yesterday. He looked at their work program, and that should be doable. So come, like I said, July, their grant will be available, and then our remaining matching funds will be available October 1, so we can move forward with that project as directed. One of the other.
So you heard there that they can move forward with that project, the heliplex and the corporate hangar as directed by the county. Now again, that's the first time I've ever heard anyone in the county talk about a heliplex or the commercial hangar going to Londa. So behind the scenes, that discussion's been happening, obviously. Another thing to note there is that the funding, the grant opportunities, things of that nature require a county match. So in this instance, it's a 50-50 split. So 50% comes from FDOT, 50% comes from the county. So they're asking for a $3 million hangar to be built. $1.5 million would come from FDOT, $1.5 million coming from Citrus County to match that grant. So taxpayers are paying $1.5 million towards this corporate hangar that is going to be allocated to Londa.
Area.
Well, I'm a little confused then because, I mean, this is a company that has expressed a desire to move their operation here. We've been talking about it, looking at it, kind of designated an area to move them into. We even gauged getting a $9 million appropriation around this, and now you're saying we're going to put this on ice?
No, I would say here's the difference. A Public Works has $3 million to build a 10 to 20,000 square foot hangar for that aviation company. So an aviation hangar is different than an actual heliplex. So we get a helicopter company, we've got a hangar. That company is first on the list for that. Public Works has the money, $3 million. We're going to build it. We locate them. Then maybe if we can get Fish and Wildlife, and then maybe we can get one other helicopter. Now we've got critical mass for a heliplex. I don't think that at this point I don't think it'd be prudent, and I'm not a planner for aviation, but to shift, the master plan to go right into that. Now, if the consultant says that's your market, let's do it, I think that's fair. Then we start thinking heliplex. But we do have that Public Works hangar to bring that first helicopter company in.
Well,
all right, so that's important there. You saw Commissioner Bays and Frank, who was the former economic director here, discussing the heliplex idea. So Commissioner Bays was kind of frustrated because it seemed like the county was not going quick enough for her opinion of getting this thing done. But she is all in on the heliplex idea, and you saw there that Frank was kind of pulling back from that, saying we don't need to go all in on the heliplex. Let's bring in the one company first, kind of see where it goes. We don't need to shift the master plan from what we had planned to do and change it all completely to allow this heliplex to come in here because we don't know if that's smart business. So we have that, and some, again, staff pushing back a little bit on that heliplex idea.
Yes, ma'am.
This is also a very difficult position. I mean, we actually have somebody that wants to make an investment here, but on the flip side of it, they have to have a level of certainty, because that's a big deal to take and move their operation from Alabama to here. They want to know where we're going. They want to know what our future plans are. They want to know how this is going to look before they have a commitment. And it's not about, we'll throw some mud on the.
So she's again pushing for the Heliplex idea. She's saying that this company wants the commitment from the county to go in this direction so that they have some level of certainty to move their business down to here in Citrus County. So why would they move here if they don't have that level of certainty? And again, prior to that, there was the staff discussions of, let's do this. But apparently that wasn't quick enough for Commissioner Bays. And she's wanting this to go forward, and she wants the plans to be solidified to allow this company to come here to Citrus County.
Yes. I hope, I probably did give you a little bit of mixed message because I've actually been talking to Livewire for 3 years. And you've been here 4 months. Now Rebecca Bays is dealing, that baton's been handed over here. So there is some frustration with that because I've been trying to get this going for 3 years. I've been asking for hangars. So I just wanted to make.
So there you have Commissioner Schleybaugh, while she was on the board, admitting that she had talked to Alonda with Livewire since about 2020, somewhere in that time frame. But again, the 2023 email from Alonda to Steve was the first time that she was publicly introduced, and I say publicly because it was a public record, but through email, that she was introduced to county staff talking about this corporate hangar project. So somewhere along the lines, they have been communicating back and forth for the past 3 years to kind of get this stuff set in motion. Now you have two commissioners, because she admitted Commissioner Bays was kind of involved in this as well. Now it's kind of taking it over. You have two commissioners that are pushing for this new business to come in and take over this corporate hangar that, again, Andy had been working on for the past year or so prior to that, and probably prior to 2020, if we go back and look at the timestamps there. So again, the question is, why was she hand-selected to take this corporate hangar when we have other people that were working on that project?
Point out that we do have another aviation business that is actively, I'm working with them, and I don't know if that person will speak today, but looking to locate in our county. But I need hangars to put these folks in. I mean, I've got waiting lists, and I need hangars because I want to go after more companies and bring them in. That's what I usually do.
So there's Frank saying that they have another company that's interested in coming here to Citrus County, but they also need a hangar. So my question there is, what is the process for determining who gets hangar space, who gets put on the list first, and all those things? We heard them mention that there was a list, and Alonda was the first one on the list, but where was this list started? What was the application process for the list? How did people get notified that there even a list was existing? So where was the selection process? What is, once you're on the list, how are people chosen? So we've kind of seen that Alonda's been handpicked for this thing, but what was the process in which she was picked over other people?
The thing that I am apprehensive about is that we have to have an investment on the county side as well. Right now it's very hodgepodge. You don't want to bring industry people there. If I was entertaining, clients, well, we have Asplin as a national tree company. We've got, maybe somebody that wants to bid on your tree contract. But right now, that's not a place that you want to, pull up and say, okay, we want to bring all of these people here and tell them how great it's going to be, or try to convince a, multi-million-dollar avionics company to come in here and move their staff here. We just don't have that. And that's what we have to, strive towards. But it also has to be what, on our end, what our industry is looking for. And I know you guys kind of went back and forth with Frank, but I also challenge each one of you to spend your own individual time going to an airport that you want to grow up to be. That's what I did. I spent tons of time going to a bunch of airports looking at it and say, hey, what could I see Inverness looking like, We've talked about education there. We've talked about other, mechanics buildings. We talked about a school being there possibly. Like, there's tons of opportunity for that. You guys have to go out and do your own homework as well. Visit those airports, call them, find out how they're operating them. Are they running, their leases through FBOs? Are they running running it through the county? Do they have an airport director? You know, like, what are all those things that have made them get to the point that they're at? So Frank's one person. I mean, each one of you can spend your time doing those things as well, to the point to where, you know, we can look at where we want to be. And I think that's a good long-term goal, you know, for everybody to be looking at as we're moving this airport down the road. But I think as an industry person and as a private individual, like, we have to have some kind of assurance that that work is going to be put in as well, you know, that we're not going to get a hangar plopped down at the end and we're going to be down there worried about if our grass is getting mowed. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So that was Alonda. She mentioned several different things. You know, they want certainty. She wants county investment into the airports before she invests. Things like that. All good points to make for all those things. And some of what she mentioned, like the mowing contracts and things like that, you know, worrying about mowing. There's been several emails from Andy at Wright Rudder to the county about the grass being too long. So clearly she's been involved in the process behind the scenes with those emails. She's included in some meetings and things like that. We're not going to go too much into that at the moment. But behind the scenes, she's involved in a lot of things regarding the airports. So again, the question is, why was her company selected over other people? So going into the June 6th BOCC meeting, so they had the workshop that morning. That afternoon is a BOCC meeting. At this meeting, they're going to issue a grant for Citrus County. They're going to request the FDO to submit some money. This is the application. They're going to do a 24,000 square foot. They're asking for $4.5 million. This is the text of the request. This is the application that was submitted. This was already blacked out before I got it. I don't know why it's blacked out. It's all public record, but it's all there. Saying that this project will consist of 24,000 square foot commercial hangar at Citrus County owned Inverness Airport. New aviation hangar will be used to expand commercial capacity at Citrus County. So they're asking for a 25,000 square foot hangar from the state of Florida. So some funding opportunities for that. This is a letter that accompanied that. This one is from the Chamber of Commerce, saying that Wright Rudder Aviation, the fixed base operator, Inverness Airport, is a stellar operator. There's great need for hangar space for the expanded services of the FBO. Again, this is mirroring what the previous application was, saying that the FBO is going to get the hangar. The FBO is going to work with WTC to bring in some aircraft maintenance school, things of that nature. This is Livewire, so this was also included in the packets. This is her letter of interest for the hangar. She's saying that she needs more around 50,000 square feet, but she's willing to consider other options available to her. So now that's going to become important because the hangar that they end up getting later on is going to be 12,000 square feet, which is the one that they're building. So she's saying that she needs 50,000 square feet. She's okay with other options, but they're going to give her a quarter of the size, and she's okay with that. Clearly saying that she needs 50,000 square feet. So, again, some kind of craziness around all this. So December 2023 was another opportunity for a grant. This one is, we didn't get the $4.5 million one, so that was not approved. This is the $1.5 million that we did end up getting. December 2023, we applied for that. This is the state's $1.5 million. This is the county match for $1.5 million. So total $3 million, which is what they were saying that the county had access to.
Thank Andy Chan, Inverness, Florida, with Wright Rudder Aviation. A little bit more about the history of this grant. Several years ago, we started the process of looking into what it would take to start an FAA aircraft mechanics school here in Citrus County. The main reason being is, as I mentioned earlier, we'd like to bring aircraft manufacturing to the Inverness Airport Business Park. Going through the process of doing that, one of our biggest challenges is workforce, of course. And so starting an FAA mechanics school in conjunction with WTC would solve that problem. Initially, at the point in time we started this, we did not have an economic development director at the county level, unfortunately. And of course, we had a different administrator at the county level. At that time, the administrator at that time said, the county can go for it as long as Wright Rudder writes the grant. No county resources were used at that time. So I originally wrote the grant that was approved by the board and by Randy Oliver last a year or two ago. We have since made about 8 trips to Tallahassee to lobby DEO and the governor's office on many different occasions, and had very positive feedback on these grants. Initially, it was one grant for $10 million in conjunction with WTC and the county. At the direction of DEO, we separated that into 2 separate grants, both less than $5 million, so that the chances of approval at the DEO level were significantly higher. Unfortunately, the hurricane last year down in Southwest Florida impacted DEO's ability to fund this project. But the most recent trip to Tallahassee, we met with Acting Secretary Meredith, forget her name, Ivy, and she is very much seemed in support of the project and very much was encouraging us to reapply, and she made it a feature of her presentation during legislative days. So very much in support of this. You guys may or may not know, but WTC is super excited about this. They have a new director as well. But the program, if it does go forward, within 2 to 3 years of a student going through the program and they would graduate the program, they would have access to 6-figure jobs, not only here in the county, but nationwide. So it's an opportunity for the youth or even people looking to change career paths. And for those of you who do not know, there's a huge shortage of aviation mechanics out there throughout the country, significant shortage, to the point where in preparation for this grant, WTC toured Punta Gorda a year or 2 ago, and Wright Rudder we toured in Tallahassee, one of the schools there. But graduates of those schools are being recruited 6 to 10 months prior to their graduation and getting signed contracts for those 6-figure jobs. So that will be a tremendous opportunity for the youth here. Very much in favor of the approval of the grant for the hangar. The initial discussion we had with Randy Oliver and the board at the time was half the space was to be used by WTC and half the space was to be used by Wright Rudder. Hopefully that still continues with the new grant. And the other thing that Meredith said was if the county is able to bring some funds to the table in some sort of match, then it will be taken way more seriously by the governor's office. And so that's why Frank is requesting the additional $300,000 because that puts something in. On Wright Rudder's behalf, we are donating on the WTC side because WTC doesn't have a lot of funds to contribute, but I think we donated around $100,000 in the grant if it does get approved in-kind equipment and things like that. So we are in on this, and it's not a for-profit venture. It is a venture that truly will help the youth of the community and provide the business part with a future workforce. So thank you for your support of these 2 proposals.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Josh Wood with the Chamber. We enthusiastically support G1, Resolution 1 and Resolution 2. This is good stuff. The private sector is working with government to make things happen. I got to give a shout out to Mr. Howard for listening to y'all and following through, and to our new Economic Development Director, Frank. This is something many of us have been working on, and we're making the right contacts and in Tallahassee, and teamwork makes the dream work, so let's keep it going.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Board comment? Very excited. I know a couple years ago, Andy, I think I yelled at you and said, "Go get this money." So thank you. Thank you, Frank. I'm excited about this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Passes 5-0.
So important in that the exchange. I let it go a little bit long to get you guys the full exchange there. But you had Andy from Wright Rudder coming to the county commissioners and saying, you know, these are things that we have been doing. You guys have tasked us with creating these grant opportunities, signing up for them, all those things. You heard Commissioner Bay saying we told Andy for years to, you know, bring these grants forward and get these grants done. And Andy acknowledged he had conversations with staff saying that when he got the hangar, that he was going to get half the hangar for himself, half the hangar for WTC for the mechanic school. But again, the meeting earlier that morning was all about the Livewire and Livewire coming in and getting this new corporate hangar. So somewhere along the lines, the county had told Andy he was getting a hangar in his discussions and his work for getting all these grant opportunities, but then somehow that switched to Alonda getting a hangar for Citrus County.
Thank Andy Chan.
So we fast forward to the July 13, 2023 meeting at the Aviation Advisory Board. They were talking about the hangar discussion. These boards are a little bit longer in terms of public comment, so I didn't screen grab the video of it because it goes on for about 10-15 minutes in this discussion. But basically, Andy mentioned that the T hangars were supposed to be built based on the master plan. So we saw in that master plan that 2 rows of T hangars there, and then somehow that changed on the master plan for the corporate hangar to Alonda with no explanation. So he was asking the Aviation Advisory Board how Alonda was the one that was chosen for a corporate hangar instead of getting those T hangars there at the airports. And again, these are those T hangars that were proposed in the master plan, but they were scratching that to do the new corporate hangar for Alonda. There's an email from Frank to Rebecca in October 2023. In this email, he's talking about the grant opportunity that he applied for the 24,000 square foot hangar. They have funding through FDOT to match for a 12,000 square foot hangar that's designated to Alonda at this time. But if they get the money for the bigger hangar, there's no reason why Alonda can't move from the smaller hangar to the bigger hangar. So they were simultaneously asking for different funds for different hangars because you saw there was a need for hangars. But currently they were earmarking the 12,000 square foot one because that was the one that they had gotten so far for Alonda's business. So Rebecca texts Alonda December 9, 2023. This is a text message, 6:35 in the morning, saying your hangar funding is on the Tuesday agenda. This is the $3 million grant, which is the $1.5 million from FDOT, $1.5 million from Citrus County. They're bringing it to the board for approval for the grant, to accept the grant, and then it's the approval for funding. So this is that meeting, December 12th, 2023. This is to accept the grant from that. It's going to be a projected $3.7 million project. Funding is $1.5 million from the county, $1.5 million from FDOT. The remaining $700,000 is funded from the General Appropriations Act there through the funds of commerce for the Phase 2 Business Park. So we had gotten money for the Phase 2 Industrial Park. We're taking some of that money as well to put towards this project. This is that award. January 11th, 2024, Aviation Advisory Board's meeting. So this is the next meeting after that approval for the grants for the hangar. They're talking about the Inverness corporate hangar. Todd is saying the grant's been signed by the FDOT, updating the Aviation Advisory Board that they now have that funding opportunity there for them to get started on this corporate hangar. Next Aviation Advisory Board meeting on February 8th. Andy comes to the board on this one. Again, I'm not going to do the video on it because it's about a 10-minute video. So for the sake of time, I just kind of highlighted some of the things here. Andy mentions that his work he's done to help secure the grant funds for the county and has received zero compensation for that work. So basically, Andy is saying that he's done a lot of work for funding these grant opportunities, spent a lot of money going to Tallahassee. You heard that in the last meeting video that I showed you, that he had funded some Tallahassee trips to get in front of the FDO and some other people and bring the county with him to have the discussion on these grants to try to get grants for Citrus County for these hangars. Wright Rudder has helped write more than 10 grants for the county. Some were received, others were not. We have funded private lobbying events at Tallahassee. So again, he mentions that the funding events at Tallahassee for that and how he had written or helped write 10 grants that were applied for various things, but he has not been compensated. He was questioning why he wasn't getting a hangar space that he had requested years before, and why Alonda, this new company coming to Citrus County, is doing that. Somewhere along the line, Frank, and I can't find the video at the moment, but Frank had told county commissioners that his preference was to give things to existing companies that have been investing in Citrus County rather than bringing in new companies from the outside, basically rewarding companies that have been here, rewarding companies that have been investing in Citrus County, creating jobs, helping sponsor different nonprofit events, things like that. So he would rather see the money go to current companies rather than recruiting outside companies for those things. So January 26, 2024, we have a text message or an email from Alonda. So now Alonda gets involved quite a bit. I didn't include everything here because we could be here for days. But she goes with Todd a lot now, directly to Todd, because she's in negotiations with the lease and all that stuff. But she sends periodic messages like this. Is he at a meeting? So she wants to pop in to talk to him at different staff meetings. Todd starts sending some more information to her, some other things. So they're kind of looping her into a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. This is from our consulting group, ICE Consulting. This is Alex there, sent this to Todd. It's the financial summary for the airport projects. And then he forwarded that over to Alonda. This is that document there, talking about the project costs and things that are going on currently at the two different airports. So now they're doing another aviation advisory, another aviation workshop. So Todd reaches out to Alonda to ask her if the date at May 14th is okay for her in the BOCC. He's saying that that is fine, or she said that that's fine. May 7th, they're setting up a meeting. So again, they have that May 14th meeting coming up for the workshop. She messages Todd saying that she's in the La Quinta government building this morning and asking if he's around. Yes, he's in his office, so she wanted to swing by and speak with him prior to that meeting. This is the May 14th meeting. In this meeting, we have the design for the 12,000 square foot hangar. So this is the process for that, to start getting that bids and all those things done to start building this hangar. This corporate hangar. So this is the approval for that. November 7th, 2024, another BOCC meeting. This BOCC meeting, they're going to talk about the Livewire Aviation and question why the work has not been done quicker.
Third is that you've had what I would consider a very interested party for 2 years. And we've talked about the corporate hangar, but nothing has ever been presented to them. There's no, terms, ideas, thoughts, costs, lease, options. None of that's ever materialized to the point of moving it to the next level. So I think we do have an interested party and have had an interested party for about 24 months. That's been very serious, and not sure why we're not massaging that and being more serious with them.
Well, we hired the aviation attorney, I believe, in late July. We had our first meeting with him in early August, and we have some leases that are coming out. Just got the ground lease, and now that we're going to review that and look at some terms. We'll be presenting. We can present the 30% design that we have, and we can also present the lease too, and with terms. So we're very, very close.
All right, so you heard there Commissioner Bays is questioning, that is Todd, the aviation person for the county, questioning him on why this process has taken over 2 years to get her into this hangar there in Inverness. And that was November 24. This is July 7th of 25, and we still don't have a signed agreement with Alonda. And the reason for that is Alonda has been going back and forth with the aviation attorney to negotiate the terms of that lease. So the question there is, why are we negotiating leases with people? Why are we doing all that? The reason I asked that is because we have this aviation person that we brought in to Citrus County in August. And his job was to take over looking at all these leases, all these things, agreements, and making everything consistent. Currently, what we have is 50 different hangars with 50 different lease terms, 50 different people signing things. Everything's kind of chaotic. There's no consistency for different things. And so the board wanted this aviation attorney to come in, look at all the different contracts we have, and make everything consistent so that if someone wanted to get a lease for a hangar, the county goes and says, hey, here's our contract for the lease, go ahead and sign it. And if they didn't want to sign it, then the next person in line can take that or whatever. But they wanted everything consistent, lease to lease to lease, for those various types of leases to make that the same for everybody. So the question becomes is why are they going back and forth and negotiating with Alonda to add different terms that she wants? She's striking things out that she doesn't like. When the idea was to bring this attorney in to have him make a lease that the county is going forward with. But going forward, November 14th, we have a Alonda text message to Rebecca talking about she's going to go meet with Steve on the airport, asking if she wants to come along. We have messages, Alonda to Todd about a meeting. Again, she's going to look into government building and wanted to see if he was around to catch up. This is the next day saying that she met with Steven and Carlton at the airports. So she's been active with staff, medium staff, and all of those things. Chris emailed to Todd on January 13th. He has some questions about some formatting issues. The lease is almost done. They're now including some different things with permitting, designs, going back and forth with that. They're this is setting up a meeting so that they can sit down and talk about the lease that Alonda wants to do. So, that is the end of this. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I didn't include in this because I'm still waiting some more public records. But the main takeaway on this is, what is the process for selecting people to take over leases or to get awarded leases for different hangars as they come available? As we saw, Andy was initially in front of all this. He was the one that was pushing for grant opportunities. He was the one that was actually doing the applications. The county would sign off on them later on. But where was the process of, hey, here we have a sign-up sheet, who's the first person on the sign-up sheet? Once all the sign-up sheet is full, what is the process going forward of selecting which companies come into those hangars? Is there a formal process of choosing different people, or do they just, hey, you're the first one on the list and take it or leave it? I've been told that it's been a first-come, first-served basis, and that's why she was the one that was awarded this hangar opportunity for the commercial hangar. Problem I have with that is, again, we saw prior to her even coming here in 2023 with that first letter in January 23, Andy was working with staff. He was taking trips to Tallahassee with staff and things like that to pursue money for these hangars. And he was told that he would be getting a hangar as part of his work with doing all of this. So I would argue he was the first one that came and requested a hangar. So how did she jump him on the list? Again, they reference a list that was getting created that he didn't apply for. Again, I don't know why he wasn't notified there was going to be a list. But why aren't we doing a more formal process, kind of like an RFP, RFQ, to where people can apply to be part of the hangar, apply to get space at a hangar, and then the county looks at all those applications, weeds through them, comes up with a criteria of what type of businesses they want in those locations. Is it better off for the current FBO to expand their operation, or is it better to bring in a new company? Have all those discussions in the public and determine what is the criteria you guys are looking for those hangars. Because again, as we build more hangars, we get another hangar, another hangar, another hangar. We're going to have more companies that want to come here. So what is the process in place that we're going to have going forward of selecting companies? Or is it, do they just pick a company because they like the person or whatever it is? So a couple questions there. I'm going to continue diving into this. I've got a lot of more things out there. I'm still waiting some more public records to come in. It's been a slow process with that, I think kind of intentionally. They're trying to keep me from getting some stuff. But in any case, I'm going to keep pushing on that, get some more behind-the-scenes information. But for now, I just wanted you guys to get out there to see that the process that they've taken so far to award this corporate hangar to Alonda, and kind of question that process and how that person was chosen for this. So check back later on when we get more information. I will keep you guys posted. Have a great day.